I want as many people to achieve financial freedom as possible. This is the position I was in where I didn't think I'd have a hope in hell of getting financial freedom. I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. Hey guys, Omar Khan here. Welcome to another video by Theta Trading, and today's video is going to be about how to achieve financial freedom while you're working. Before we get into that, I want to share a little bit about my background, about how I grew up and why we started this company and why financial freedom and the concept of financial literacy is so important to me. So for me, growing up, I didn't grow up in a wealthy household. I grew up in an immigrant household with my parents were both educated, but both financially illiterate. When I grew up, I knew I did not want to do this. However, when you don't come from a position of privilege and you really have no one to rely on, or no mentors, no financial capital, you have two choices. You have to either figure it out or be broke. That is really the only two choices. So I graduated in 1998, many years ago, out of University of Toronto, and I graduated with student debt. I also graduated financially illiterate. So at that point in time, myself and my business partner, Matthew Todman, we had a choice. We could either be broke and be paying off our student loans for a long period of time, or we said to ourselves, we got to figure this out. So today I want to share with you exactly what it is that we did to figure it out and how we got out of our situation and how we got to the point where we never have to work a day in our lives if we don't want to. Before we do that, if you guys like these videos, please hit the like button. It really helps out the algorithm. Please consider subscribing to Theta Trading if the content is useful, and hit that bell notification for future videos. Now let's get into it. All right, so how do we achieve financial freedom? I'll tell you exactly how I did it. So I started trading in 1998, like I said. And, I did an economics degree from the University of Toronto. And this is not necessary. You don't need a degree from anywhere. This is completely unnecessary. Okay, I went to university for one purpose. I did not care about the education. I cared for one thing and one thing only, in which I did not receive. How do I get myself and my family to a better life? Now, that is not what happened in school. In school, you're sitting in calculus class and you're sitting in some other class. It's all theory. And you're sitting in learning about Greek mythology. You go, what the hell am I doing here? That's not what I wanted to learn. So after we graduated university, we got some jobs. We had great jobs in the financial sector, and we asked ourselves, hey, how do we get out of this mess? Because you got a mountain of student debt, parents have no money, you don't know anyone, you have no connections. What do? So here's what we did, okay, guys? We started experimenting, we started fiddling around. So we started trading in the stock market. And like I said, we tried every investment strategy you can think of. And we kept going, and this is before the internet was really in the form it's in today. There's no YouTube back then. The internet was very basic and minimal. You had dial-up. It wasn't very robust. So the lack of information was a major problem for us. We had to overcome a lack of knowledge, a lack of information. So what we would do is we would go to the library or the bookstore, and we would buy books and just read them and then just start practicing. And through that trial and error process, we learned how to make ourselves financially independent. So after having gone through every strategy that you can think of when it comes to the stock market, we finally settled on today what is known as the Theta Trading strategy. And what we do is simple, okay? We look for companies that we really want to own, right? So companies that we think will be worth more in the future. Simple concept, right? Like, let's say, look at my top holdings, and this is not meant to be stock advice. We look at great companies that are household names, often very global, massive moats around their business, meaning it's very difficult to compete with them. These are the things we look at. Then we start looking at the financial statements of these companies. And again, this is what we do all day and every day. And then instead of buying those stocks, we simply agree to buy those stocks using something called a naked put. A naked put is where we get paid a lot of money simply for agreeing to buy that stock. Now, if it's a stock that we want to buy that we think will be worth a lot more in the future, it becomes a great situation for us, because the worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to own that stock. But remember, we wanted to own that stock anyways. So what I did over the years is I took this capital, I just kept making more and more money, kept taking this capital, and I did not adjust my lifestyle. Kept getting better jobs, tried my best to get promoted at work, and kept going and going and going. And eventually, what happened was I would make, let's say, $40,000, $50,000 from my trading profits, right? For agreeing to buy a bunch of stocks that I wanted to buy. Every time I had additional capital, plus I would save everything I could, I would take my money, I would go buy a piece of real estate. Take my money, go buy another piece of real estate. Now, real estate is the second component to how we created our wealth, okay? And this is why you can do this all while you have a job or a business or a very busy family life, right? So when I started doing this, I was single at first. It got bigger and bigger. We had 3 kids. It's not easy to leave a job when you have 3 young kids at home. So when I left my job in 2014, we had 3 young kids at home, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and a full-time live-in nanny. So you can imagine how big my expenses were and how difficult it was to leave such a nice job. But I knew in my mind that the game was over for me. Why? Because I had enough capital and I had enough assets. So knowledge and assets. Now, where does real estate come into the picture? So what we did is we started taking our trading profits and we did not adjust our lifestyle. We just kept taking those profits and systematically we kept buying cash flow positive properties. Now, what that means is properties that after all expenses are considered, your property tax, your mortgage, your property management fees, your utilities if necessary, your insurance, all those items, we want to make sure that if we're buying a property, and that property should be, let's say, 20, 30% down maximum, that property is running positive cash flow. So for example, at the end of the month, your expenses are $2,000 on that property, well, that property should generate far more than $2,000. Let's say $2,500, maybe even higher, $3,000 or $2,800. A nice buffer where you're generating a lot of positive cash flow and you're systematically, simultaneously paying down your mortgage, okay? Hopefully the property is appreciating, and there's a couple things that we look for when we look for properties appreciating. We look for GDP growth, okay? That is the economy locally growing? And then second thing we look for is the population growing. Those are 2 very broad things to look for when it comes to real estate. So what we did over the years is we systematically took all of our trading profits and kept buying this real estate as the numbers made sense. Not blindly, as the numbers made sense. We look for massive positive cash flow in an area which exhibits those 2 dynamics, GDP growth and population growth. Then we look at, are there any major infrastructure projects coming up in that area? And where I invested, there was a light rapid transit system coming up and other things. And I invested right along where that future LRT route was going to be. And that becomes fantastic for me because I expect future appreciation to be above average. And that's exactly what happened over the years. So now I've got a major real estate portfolio, which is cash flow positive. And on a monthly basis, I take the positive cash flow from this real estate and I throw it into my trading account, okay? In my trading account, I then agree to buy more stocks that I wanted to buy anyways, for which I get paid a lot of money. This generates me further cash flow. So now I've got 2 sources of cash flow that I'm making while I'm working or while I have a busy family life or business. So the positive cash flow from the real estate goes into the trading account. The trading account uses that positive cash flow and it uses it to agree to buy more stock, which we get paid more money on. Now, every few years, you'll get an opportunity with your real estate to refinance it as well. So every 3 years or 5 years, if we're able to pull some money out and still be running positive cash flow on that real estate, we'll do that. Because A, we get a tax deduction for the interest that we pay. And then secondly, it's a more efficient use of capital. I don't want to necessarily be tying up a lot of money when my mortgage is, say, 3% or 3.5%. I can use that money more efficiently in the market. So that's another way we can pull money out of our real estate portfolio and add to our stock portfolio. And now let's say we've had a while where the stock market's doing pretty well. We're getting paid a lot of money simply for agreeing to buy our stocks using our naked put strategy. on high quality companies. And this money again adds up and adds up and adds up. And then we have another choice to make. Once it's added up enough, we say to ourselves, hey, do we want to buy another piece of real estate? Or do we want to continue to invest in the stock market? The point is, when you understand two different asset categories, it is far easier for you to make a determination on where the best risk-adjusted rate of return is. Okay, guys? So I want to just give you a brief synopsis, and I'll do more videos. Please, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and comment. Ask, what videos would you like to see? We basically started this company for one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to get as many people to financial freedom as possible if they have a job and no financial knowledge. The company is designed to be exactly what we would have wanted 20 some odd years ago when we first started our investment journey and knew nothing of what was going on. And we had to learn everything through trial and error. That is not the best way to learn things. Now, the issue in today's day and age is there is simply too much information. So if you Google something or you look something up on YouTube, you're going to get a gazillion different opinions, and you're not going to know which one works. And I've been doing this long enough to know that this is the system that gives me the highest rate of return for the least amount of time spent and the least amount of stress. Okay, so I think about my real estate. Well, my worst case scenario is I've got some positive cash flow. Even if I have a bit of vacancy on my rentals, I can still run positive cash flow. My worst case scenario on my stock portfolio is, since I'm writing naked puts, which means I'm agreeing to buy stock that I would buy anyways, which I'm getting paid a lot of money for, my worst case scenario is that I own a high quality stock that I would have bought anyways at a discount. I've done a few videos on this already, guys. Just look up naked puts and covered calls. That's our two strategies. And we only do this on household names that we know, trust, and want to own for a long time, that we think will be worth more in the future. So that's exactly how I achieve my financial freedom, guys. Anybody can do this. Literally anybody. But the key is knowledge and then applying that knowledge. If you have any questions, please send us an email at support@thetatradingco.com and let us know what sort of videos would you like to see in the future. I want, like I said, as many people to achieve financial freedom as possible. This is the position I was in where I didn't think I'd have a hope in hell of getting financial freedom. I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. I look forward from hearing with you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Until next time, we'll see you. Omar Khan from Theta Trading. Talk soon.